No passport, no problem. How about a dirt cheap zip line ride for illegals from Guatemala to Mexico City, with the final leg of the trip being a tunnel crawl or a short swim across our border? Iowa Congressman Steve King joins me now. Congressman, thanks for joining us, first of all.
I'm glad to. Thank you, Eric.
So how easy is it to get through our border, sir?
Well, through the southern border, there are a number of different ways they can get there, and one of them is just walk across the desert. That's pretty easy. Given the weather, it might be a little difficult today. There's a tunnel that they have shown television cameras that there's been a lot of traffic through. There are actually multiple tunnels. They dig more tunnels as time goes on, too. And or you can climb over some small fences, or you can face the 21-foot fence, or maybe it's a 24-foot fence down at San Luis. Or the most difficult place, I think, right now, maybe Smuggler's Gulch, but I'd look at El Paso, 220 yards from where the president was making fun of those of us who want to build a border fence and saying some want a fence, some want a moat with alligators in it. Within 220 yards of where the president stood that day in El Paso, you have to climb, to get into the United States, climb a fence, swim the Rio Grande River, climb another fence, cross a patrol road, climb another fence, swim through a canal that's full of rushing water, and climb another fence to get into the United States. Some places are hard, some places aren't even a challenge, Eric.
Right, sir, and I remember you on the House floor at one point. You brought a little model. You had something where a trench was dug, and you dropped some things, and you had some fence. That looked like a pretty good idea. How was that received?
Well, it's been received pretty well. It's almost like a folk story, and that was about 5 years ago. And I just looked at the numbers, and today they're this. We're spending $12 billion to protect our southern border. That's $6 million a mile. If you just take two of the $6 million a mile for a single year, I can build you a fence like that, a slip-formed foundation that goes about 5 feet deep out of concrete, and drop in precast concrete panels about 13.5 foot high, put a wire on top of that. We can put sensors on it. We can do all of that for a couple $1 million a mile, and that's a lot more cost-effective than chasing people across the desert 100 miles north of the border.
Congressman, I only have about a minute left. Private detention centers, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Oh, I support them. Anything that's more competitive than the federally run operations, and even they can be quite costly. We've got about 5 of them now, about 33,000 criminal aliens that are incarcerated in them serving their time at a cost of almost $42,000 per year each. I think we can do it cheaper if we just subcontract with private prisons in their home countries, deport them into a private prison in Mexico, for example, and when they serve their time, they can just open the doors and release them onto the streets.
Takes it out of the taxpayers' hands as well. Sir, before I let you go, I couldn't do this. I couldn't have you on without asking about this. The news story came over today. Christie, quote, special guest at Steve King Iowa fundraiser. What's going on?
I have to tell you, Chris Christie he's an outstanding leader, and it turns out that I have done some things that I think pleased him, and I had no idea. It was all in a day's work. And as some Iowa leaders flew out to talk to him, he had raised the issue that he'd be glad to do a fundraiser for me, and that's going to happen this coming Monday.
Oh, boy. You sure he's not knocking on the Kingmaker's door?
It might not sound like the whole story, Eric, but it pretty much is the whole story. You said you only had a minute.
I saved a minute for this.
But honestly, he is coming. He's doing an educational forum with Governor Branstad on Sunday, and then sticking around to do this fundraiser the following day. And most of it really does have to do with John Conyers, then chairman of the Judiciary Committee, brought Chris Christie before the Judiciary Committee when he was a candidate for governor in New Jersey to give him his political public lynching. And I sat there and made sure that there was another side of the story.
Okay.
And somehow that has impressed Chris Christie.
Okay, I'll let you off the hook.
I'm very grateful.
It is clear it's good to be friends with the King, Steve King. Congressman King, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks a lot.